The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Right now on the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime, a third-generation and endorsed star is fired by WWE on Monday's Raw. Another WWE star is out with an injury. What ties might it have to the NFL? Find out how you can win free tickets to WWE Smackdown. A TNA star returns to the ring this weekend, and another gives birth to her first child. We take an in-depth look at the mad scientist Paul Heyman. Is he a better manager than Bobby the Brain Heenan? We answer that and so much more right here, right now on My 24 Milwaukee. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime Saturday night, right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius and Tiberius, the alleged backyard one-time Knockouts Hall of Famer, Diva Straight Edge, Hardcore champion.
Yes,
Hero.
Hall of Famer, and the Reverend. Let's not forget that either.
Oh, you are ordained.
I am ordained.
And you are clinically insane as well, right?
Absolutely not insane.
Well, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to talk about this week, including a very active WWE Raw. So let's kick it off with this week's Raw report.
Is this really still bothering you?
Cody Rhodes is,
it's been
quote-unquote
5.5, 6 days.
fired from WWE after losing to Randy Orton.
Yes.
And Cody Rhodes.
He lost convincingly.
He also performed convincingly.
Hey, it was a
match.
fantastic match, and hey, if that's going to be your last match, it might as well go out that way. But Randy Orton, Randy Orton was pretty solid also.
Well, of course he was.
Yeah.
People expect that out of Randy. People are still discovering it out of Cody.
Okay. You've been preaching Cody Rhodes for the last how many years? 3, 4 years
Absolutely,
now?
Yeah. He's been endorsed. He's an endorsed
so everyone
talent,
knows he's good because you keep telling everybody about it.
Nobody knew he was as good as he would be on the microphone later, though, as he was exiting the building talking about his father, his brother, and the WWE's conspiracy, if you will, against the Rhodes
Well, they are
family.
from the South.
What does that mean?
Well, the McMahons are from the North. It's kind of like the Civil War all over again.
We would subsequently see Dusty and Dustin speak out at WWE.com about this. David Hero, obviously, as a lot of people know, Cody Rhodes is going to be getting married in the next few days.
Beautiful fiancé.
He's going to be getting married to Brandy Reed, I believe is her name, and they are going to be going on
she
honeymoon.
follows me on Twitter.
So they will be taking some time away.
Yes.
So this could potentially be explaining that absence that Cody is going to have. But
Wait. So if he's going to get married, take time off for the honeymoon, do you honestly think he'll come back rested?
You've seen Brandy, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Did last Monday night on Raw, did that matchup, did that story, did that time that Cody got make him a bigger star in WWE?
He's one of the few guys that lost a big match that got more over. Because now it's like, oh, wait a minute, Cody's fired, Cody's gone? Cody. Great match with Randy Orton. If that match wouldn't have been as good, they might not have cared that much, but it was a solid match. He entertained. Him and Randy were on the same page the entire time, and Cody Rhodes is now an upper mid-card guy.
Upper mid-card.
Upper mid-card.
Okay.
He's not upper card yet. Mid-card.
Really?
Yeah.
How does he get reintroduced? I guess Triple H firing him, how does all of this Triple H turmoil get taken care of?
Remember when his daddy lost the Loser Leave Town match or whatever, and he came back as the Midnight Rider?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to see them do something like that again. Have Cody come back under a hood, ride in with the ride in on the horse. Yeah, but it has to be everyone knows it's Cody, but nobody knows it's Cody kind of thing.
Mr. America, Hulk Hogan?
Yes, exactly.
The Big Show was called out by Stephanie McMahon when he refused to take a match with Daniel Bryan. Stephanie McMahon says that Big Show has had his problems. He's broke. He has broken down to tears.
Well, you know
by
why?
Stephanie McMahon.
I mean, his merchandise is terrible. Who's going to buy that stuff?
You don't like camouflage?
No.
Big Show, we've seen him get quite emotional over the last few weeks on WWE programming. Your thoughts, David Hero, on the status of Big Show?
He should really take a Midol. I mean, he needs to just chill out and relax. I mean, they are making the Big Show a weak giant. He's way too emotional. He's 7'5", 500 pounds, and he's sobbing in the ring. He should be angry.
You saying big man don't cry?
He should be mad.
He's done that before.
But he needs to keep it going. Okay. An emotional Big Show does not sell tickets.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
You're exactly right. But let's talk about what did sell tickets this past Monday night. That amazing promo in a very simplistic form from CM Punk, who basically said, buy a ticket to Night of Champions. Well done by Punk.
Well, and he has to put the heat on Paul Heyman because I don't think this audience wants to see CM Punk versus Curtis Axel.
Curtis Axel, giving all credit where credit is due, is the third man, almost the fourth man in this matchup behind the referee.
He really is.
Because, and that's what's great about what they've done with this story, in the absence of Brock Lesnar, and we're going to talk about the importance of Paul Heyman later on to this whole story. But you're exactly right, David Hero, but they've done a tremendous job, and Punk did a great job.
CM Punk needs to make Curtis Axel a star at Night of Champions.
How so?
By giving him the same kind of match Randy Orton gave Cody Rhodes.
He will, because Punk is professional in that way.
Agreed, but he really needs to make sure that happens.
We saw a four-way Divas title match announced for Night of Champions as AJ Lee gets involved in the Divas matchup and is left laying. Stephanie McMahon then makes it a four-way matchup.
How important is it to have that Divas TV show, Total Divas show?
Well,
all those girls now are in the marquee match.
And what's the difference now? The fans care.
Well, they're
Divas.
invested in those characters.
That they are. That's this week's WWE Raw report. And as we said and have been saying for weeks, we've got you free tickets to WWE Smackdown.
Free?
TV coming to Milwaukee on September 24th. Let's throw it over to Linda Kay.
That's a four-letter word.
Got our first winner of this week's tickets. Linda, take it away.
Congratulations to this week's first winner of WWE Smackdown tickets, Christopher Olsen. Christopher gets 2 tickets to the September 24th event in Milwaukee, and you can too. All you have to do to enter is head over to PWRshow.com right now and enter your name in this week's drawing. It's just that easy. We'll be announcing this week's second winner later in tonight's show. Congratulations again to Christopher, and we'll be back with another winner in just a few minutes. So enter now at PWRshow.com.
Thank you, Linda, and congratulations to Chris. And we've got so much more still to come here on the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. Another WWE star is out with an injury. Find out how you can win more tickets to WWE Smackdown. A TNA star returns to the ring this weekend for house shows, and another gives birth to her first child. We'll also take an in-depth look at the mad scientist, Paul Heyman, and answer the question of whether or not he is a better manager than Bobby the Brain Heenan. All that in another edition of DWHS when we come back, right here on My 24 Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, hey Milwaukee! On Tuesday, September 24th, WWE Smackdown returns live. See new WWE Champion Randy Orton defend his championship against Daniel Bryan. Plus, Rob Van Dam, The Big Show, and Mark Henry take on The Shield in a 6-man tag team match. And don't miss World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio, Dolph Ziggler, and the Wyatt family's Milwaukee debut. It's WWE Smackdown live in Milwaukee, Tuesday, September 24th. Tickets are available.
I have not gone long on anything, just so you know.
Oh, I heard.
You heard? What was about the Midol comment?
That's for periods. And you know that. Not Tylenol, not Advil, not aspirin. Midol. You called him what you did.
No, I did not. I said he's emotional.
Those many words. All right, we're going to do Smackdown Impact. AJ won the tourney, right?
Yeah. No. He won the gauntlet. He's one of the top 4 guys.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. And it's time to go to this week's WWE Smackdown Report. Show opens with Triple H having a town hall meeting and a few supporters, or, well, non-supporters.
There was one supporter
as well. Damian Sandow is the first to speak up, supporting the firing of his former tag team partner Cody Rhodes. Kofi Kingston asks how everyone's says that everyone is scared because that is the fear that has been levied against the roster by Triple H. And how is that good for business? Heath Slater, who's also endorsed, by the way, does a little kissing up to Triple H. All this results in Kofi Kingston getting a match with Curtis Axel, non-title matchup. Curtis Axel, the Intercontinental Champion, and Curtis Axel loses that matchup to Kofi Kingston.
A big mistake. You have to give Curtis Axel steam going into his match with CM Punk.
Next weekend at Night of Champions.
Exactly. He should have defeated Kofi Kingston. I don't know why he didn't, but...
Is anyone going to remember this match on Monday? It's a good match. Two great performers.
Hey, you're saying how great SmackDown is lately. It's a must-watch show all of a sudden. It should be.
I never use those words.
Bro, Cephas.
Mr. O'Reilly, I never use those words.
Okay. Well, fine.
Did you watch Tosh.0 this week? Is back from?
I have not. No, you know what? I did not. See, Cal's back at school.
Yeah. So make sure he stays away from those mascots.
Mascots?
Randy Orton gets another win over RVD last night on SmackDown, and another win also for Ryback over Dolph Ziggler after Dean Ambrose interferes in that matchup. Now, we've seen Ambrose and Ziggler now having a bit of interaction. Are we on our way to a story between those two?
Well, you're going to have to, but what a fall from grace for Dolph Ziggler.
Really?
I think so. I mean, it's not nowhere near where The Miz has fallen from.
Really?
But, I mean, Dolph Ziggler, former world champion not that long ago, rising star. Now he's in a program with Dean Ambrose.
That's a great thing.
It's going to be matches. They're going to be great matches, but wow. Now he's going for the U.S. title as opposed to the world title. He really hasn't gotten his rematch, has he, for the world title?
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely. We found out earlier in the night that Daniel Bryan would be able to pick any member of the Shield in a one-on-one matchup on SmackDown last night. He would pick Seth Rollins. Great matchup, of course. Daniel Bryan gets the win, but he is attacked by Randy Orton yet again after the matchup. Daniel Bryan's a warrior.
You know what?
Not the warrior.
Daniel Bryan is like the little engine that could.
The little what that could?
Engine that could. What do you think I said? Engine? Engine. Choo-choo train?
Something about a cigar store.
Okay. But the thing is Daniel Bryan's his own worst enemy. He hasn't gotten smarter than the last 3 weeks. The same thing happens every show, every week. Daniel Bryan left laying.
That's last night's WWE Smackdown, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take it now to this past Thursday's TNA Impact Wrestling, where we saw the 12-man gauntlet match to determine who would win 20 points in the Bound for Glory Championship Series. Well, the winner of that matchup would be AJ Styles. AJ in the Final Four.
He's not the best in the world, but he's phenomenal.
He will be one of the men, one of the Final Four men, and get the opportunity at No Surrender to face Bully Ray or whoever the TNA World Champion is at the time at Bound for Glory.
According to Bully Ray, he's not going to wrestle that often. Him versus Mr. Anderson next week.
No Surrender.
Interesting match. Do I get pay-per-view points for that?
No, not at all.
It should be.
Are you paying to watch? Per view.
Believe me, I pay to watch. Yes. But, good for AJ Styles. He came out of nowhere, wins the gauntlet. Well, he's now one of the favorites to win the Bound for Glory series. Him and Magnus and Bobby Roode and Austin Aries. It's going to be interesting to see those four wrestling talents. Jeff Hardy not in the Final Four. That's a shocker to me.
Are they telling enough of a story of Bobby Roode's participation in the series this year after his participation in the series last year?
Because consider Bobby Roode he started off losing his first few matches.
Right.
And that was one of the Final Four. I don't see Bobby Roode winning. I don't see Aries winning. I don't see Magnus. It's going to be AJ Styles.
Really?
Yes.
Sort of set that up, huh? Even though he reportedly only has a short-term contract.
I think last week's promo kind of did that.
What did you think of last week's promo? AJ Styles directing his comments at Dixie Carter.
I liked it in theory. I don't think it came across well to the audience, the live audience.
All right. Well, that's this week's Impact Wrestling Report, ladies and gentlemen. Time to talk about a little Ring of Honor, David, here.
ROH.
News surrounding the World Heavyweight Championship there, as Ring of Honor announced that Jay Briscoe is going to appear at Death Before Dishonor 11 on September 20th, coming to us from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's going to be there to, at the very least, present the Ring of Honor title to the winner of the World Title Tournament that's been occurring over the last few weeks. Now, the story is Briscoe's still in possession of the belt after he was taken out with an injured shoulder earlier in the year. Now, the Final Four in that tournament are Kevin Steen, Michael Elgin, Adam Cole, and Tommaso Ciampa. Winner will be determined on September 20th, but you can't expect Jay Briscoe to just give that title over.
You kind of figure it's going to be Kevin Steen and Michael Elgin in the final. Wouldn't you have to think that?
You know what? Any two of the four men in the finals would be a fantastic wrestling matchup, but I think all that will be overshadowed by some Briscoe shenanigans.
You think so?
I think so. That Death Before Dishonor 11 will be on internet pay-per-view from
September 20th, right?
September 20th, indeed.
A lot of wrestling this month. Gotta make a note of that.
Please make a note of it. Let's make a note of something else, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take it over to, well, David, I'm going to give you the floor. It's time for this week's Diamond of the Ring.
Oh, it's my Diamond of the Ring segment?
Your Diamond of the Ring, right
Beautiful. There. This week's Robert Hack Diamond of the Ring is the winner of the TNA Gauntlet match. Really? The one, the only, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. Catapults himself to the #1 spot in the Bound for Glory series. Going forward, he'll probably be facing Magnus in the next couple weeks. But this week's Robert Hack Diamond of the Ring, the place where they pay cash for gold, phenomenal AJ Styles.
That's a good pick.
You like that, huh?
Someone from Impact Wrestling. I want to make sure that point is made.
Well, of course.
A lot of people think you hate Impact Wrestling.
I don't hate Impact Wrestling. I have different ideas about it, but I don't hate. That's a powerful word.
AJ Styles, this week's Diamond of the Ring, and I want to make sure that you stay connected with the Pro Wrestling Report and follow us on social media. So we'll be right back in a moment after you see all the ways you can interact with PWR all week long. We'll be right back with the Event Center.
Welcome to the PWR Event Center, brought to you by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. WWE will be returning to Milwaukee for a Smackdown TV taping at the BMO Brett Harris Bradley Center on Tuesday, September 24th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. On Friday, October 4th, GLCW will present Shenanigans, which will be a benefit show for cystic fibrosis at Turner Hall in downtown Milwaukee. The main event will be a cage match featuring GLCW champion Al Snow versus Tommy Dreamer, along with matches featuring ODB, Joseph Park, the Headbangers, Armando Estrada, and more. Get your tickets now at blizzardbrawl.com. And that's it for this week's Event Center presented by Gruber Law Offices, and we'll see you at the matches. And coming up next on the Pro Wrestling Report, another WWE star is out with an injury. What ties does it have to the NFL? More free tickets to WWE Smackdown courtesy of PWR. A TNA star returns to the ring this weekend, and another gives birth to her first child. An in-depth look at the mad scientist Paul Heyman. Is he a better manager than Bobby the Brain Heenan? This week's 3 Count, and a preview of next week's PWR Primetime TV. But first, it's time to find out what is on David Hero's mind in this week's DHHS.
While watching TNA Impact Wrestling this past week, I started to notice similarities to another wrestling company. Throughout the show, you would hear a TNA chant, and certain superstars were referred to as TNA originals. No, I'm not comparing TNA to WWE. When was the last time you had a WWE show and you'd hear the WWE chant? Or John Cena being referred to as a WWE original? I'm talking about ECW. Both companies have their niche fan base, and both companies have had their financial issues. With the exception of a few TNA stars, most matches only get that TNA chant. As cool as that may sound to the people in the front office, it shows that the fan base is not connected with individual talents. Talents like AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, Kaz, Daniels, and Cowboy James Storm are spoken in the same regard as ECW originals, Sabu, RVD, Taz, and the Dudley Boys. Does anyone really want to be an original anymore? Time for these group of guys to get to superstar status so the company can grow and become profitable. If this trend continues, we can all expect to see the best of TNA DVDs right next to the rise and fall of ECW DVDs on the store shelves. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
Hi gang, Mean Gene Okerlund here on My 24, and you're watching the Pro Wrestling Report. All of the news about wrestling, not only here in Milwaukee, but throughout the world. Stay up to date. Join us every Saturday night.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report, primetime Saturday night. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Hero, and it's time for this week's hot news. It's all the headlines you need in around 60 seconds or less.
Your segment,
for
right?
For those of you keeping score at home. Yes, that's my segment,
I don't,
so shut up.
I don't see my notes on there.
Well, you shouldn't, because there's a lot of scribble on that paper.
Yeah, there's something on there.
PWTorch.com is reporting that X Division wrestler Zema Ion is returning to a TNA ring this weekend at a series of house shows in Delaware and Pennsylvania. Ion has been off TV for TNA since April after undergoing a surgical procedure for appendicitis. Ion had started a Kickstarter campaign to help fund multiple operations, and many people have commented on TNA's lack of assistance with the funding.
But that's not TNA's fault that he had appendicitis.
Correct.
Okay. Not like he broke his neck or something.
WWE.com is reporting that Christian is also out with an injury. Christian suffered a concussion in a match with Randy Orton on last week's WWE Raw. The former World Heavyweight Champion is being sent to the WWE Performance Center for further evaluation, and once found to no longer have symptoms of concussion, will be cleared to return to the ring.
He's been injury prone, hasn't he, since he's come back?
WWE star Mark Henry also suffered an injury at a recent WWE house show. It's a hamstring injury. Mark Henry has been home and is resting that injury. His status for Night of Champions is in doubt. TNA Knockout Madison Rayne has given birth to a baby girl. That happened last week. I want to issue our congratulations to the former Knockouts champion on welcoming her first child into the world along with her husband. That's it for this week's hot news. Well, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to find out who the second winner of this week's SmackDown 2-pack of tickets is. So, Linda, let us all now find out who drew number 2. Take it away.
Congratulations to this week's second winner of WWE Smackdown tickets, Kendra Jones. Kendra has scored 2 tickets to the September 24th event in Milwaukee. And that's it for this week's winners, but you still have a chance to win. All you have to do to enter is head over to PWRshow.com right now and enter your name for next week's drawing, and the winners will be announced right here on PrimeTime. It's just that easy. Now let's take it back to Damien and Dave with this week's In-Depth.
It's time now to go to this week's In-Depth segment.
Do you have any video of her DJing on the site yet?
No.
That was a pretty trending topic last week.
Has not yet been cleared to air.
Oh, okay.
In the last few weeks, it's been a little bit obvious just how valuable Paul Heyman has been and is to the WWE. He's played a key role in the story behind the match between CM Punk and Curtis Axel coming up at Night of Champions next weekend. We talked about that earlier. For those of you who don't know, Paul Heyman was the man in charge of ECW, which went out of business several years ago. He was often referred to as the mad scientist during that time. From ECW, Heyman would do commentary and act as SmackDown general manager even for WWE, and he was even a part of the refreshed ECW launch under the WWE umbrella. That version of ECW, of course, never quite met anyone's expectations, and Heyman would leave WWE shortly after his beloved ECW was dissolved again. Paul Heyman would make a return to WWE in 2012, aligning himself with CM Punk, but now manages both Brock Lesnar and Curtis Axel. Heyman is now playing the role of a classic wrestling manager and is doing so quite perfectly, I might add. Some people have even compared the managerial skills of Heyman to the great Bobby Heenan.
Who?
While an argument can be made on that comparison, there is no argument that sometimes a great wrestling manager is needed to place some stars on a higher plane. Heyman is a guy who a lot of fans want to see get beaten down, and there is no doubt he is the reason that many people buy tickets to WWE events. He is certainly a quote-unquote walrus, but is Paul Heyman as good or even better than the quote-unquote weasel, Bobby Heenan?
I can't believe you're going to post that question.
It's been posed
Bobby
to
the
us via
Brain Heenan
Twitter
is one
and
of the
Facebook.
greatest managers of all time.
And Paul Heyman isn't?
And you know what? Paul Heyman is a very good mouthpiece / manager. But
he's not one of the greatest of all time, you're saying? Is Jim Cornette one of the greatest managers of all time?
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at the careers of the greatest managers...
Stop. Just before you go any further, we're going to compare apples to apples.
Let's collaborate now.
Okay. Right now, there's only one manager in wrestling.
No, there is not. Zeb Coulter is a manager in wrestling, and Paul Heyman is a manager in wrestling.
Okay, fine. There's
Truth Martini is a manager in wrestling.
No, let's talk about WWE, because that's what we're comparing. You got Zeb Coulter and Paul Heyman. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, if you go back to the Bobby Heenan era, you had Bobby Heenan, you had Captain Lou, you had Slick, you had Freddie Blassie, you had Jimmy Hart, you had Luscious Johnny V, you had Miss Elizabeth, okay? And Bobby Heenan stood out amongst all of them, but they all had their certain role, their certain place. Mr. Fuji even.
Fine,
We're comparing Paul Heyman to nobody. There's nobody else on TV right now that's doing what he does.
No. That's not at all what we're doing. What we're saying
but
is
everyone's saying how good he is because there's nobody else doing it.
But
if you put Paul Heyman in that same group, I don't think he shines as much.
Is he not as good? Is he not as good as Bobby Heenan was?
No, and here's why. All the heat is on Paul Heyman. It's not on his talent.
Okay,
it's not on Curtis Axel.
When did the Red Rooster have heat?
The Red Rooster had a ton of heat.
He didn't have a dang bit of heat. He did not.
You're comparing the Red Rooster now to the Paul
Curtis Axel. Yes, I absolutely am.
Curtis Axel.
Absolutely, I absolutely
You look at the Heenan family. Bundy and Studd had their own heat. Haku had his own heat.
But
Hercules had his own heat.
Why were they put with Heenan then? If they had their own heat, why
because
did
they couldn't talk. Ever hear Haku talk?
And the same thing. Brock Lesnar, God bless you. Brock Lesnar can't talk. Curtis Axel is not the best of talkers, so it's the same thing. Paul Heyman paired with them to make them that much better.
Paul Heyman is tremendous. He has done a fantastic job with Brock Lesnar and Curtis Axel. But to say he's better than Bobby Heenan is asinine.
Is he as good as?
No. He might be a notch or two below Bobby. And you know what? And I'll catch a ton of heat for this because Paul Heyman is beloved by so many internet wrestling fans.
But a lot of them don't know Bobby Heenan as well.
They don't. But if, like I said, you put Paul Heyman in the mix of the 80s from that group of managers, and Paul Heyman doesn't stand out.
He stood out when he was in that group of managers.
No, he did not.
WCW with the cordless phone, and remember the big story between him and Jim Cornette in the tag team battle?
But he wasn't in the same class as a Jimmy Hart then. He wasn't as Lou Albano, as a Freddie Blassie. Certainly not Bobby Heenan or even Mr. Fuji.
We have presented Bobby Heenan with the Lifetime Wrestling Achievement Award right here on this very program.
Yes.
The question I would gauge it by is, would I give Paul Heyman that same award right now?
Because of what he did with ECW. Not because of his current managerial stuff.
But he's got a skill set that makes him so dynamic that it's an easy comparison to other great managers.
I gave Paul Heyman the Diamond of the Week after SummerSlam.
Can you not agree
He's the guy that made the Punk-Lesnar match that much better.
Can you not agree that it's an easy comparison to make between Paul Heyman?
Well, yeah, because he's the best manager on TV right now compared to the best manager on TV back then.
Thank you.
Because there's only one other manager, and that's Zeb Colter, who I think is just as entertaining as Paul Heyman.
Well, because your views are a bit skewed.
Well, no, he's actually a smart individual. He gets it.
All right, that's this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. Next week, we've got Be the Booker for Night of Champions, David Hero. It's going to be an interesting
one. And before anyone complains about Heenan, go back and watch his stuff on YouTube. Better than Paul Heyman.
Different eras. Is John Cena better than Hulk Hogan?
No way. He could never beat Andre the Giant.
Well, I mean, you said last week on this program something about
Hulk Hogan would have lost to Daniel Bryan.
For Mr. Beck, ladies and gentlemen, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next Saturday night on Primetime.
Ridiculous.